Welcome, everyone. I'm Anne. Of course, Sarah's here too. And we're here with Randy and Carol from Podiatry Content Connection. We're here with another webinar for our Practice Partner Academy that we've launched this year. We're excited. We love Randy's webinars, and this one is about something that, again, Sarah and I need to learn about too. So we'll be learning right along with everybody else.
Right. Well, I think that's what's really interesting about tonight's topic is, Google Ads, which, I will never not call it AdWords, right? Like it's just, it's one of those things. I still call the internet the information superhighway. So, but it's one of those things that is just always confusing. Since Google Ads started, 15, 20 years ago, it's always been just confusing on how it works. People tend to get it very confused. What's the difference between search engine marketing or Google AdWords and search engine optimization with the SEO? And what do these letters mean? And then Facebook came along and it's like, oh, well, I can just do a bunch of things for free. And they were like, haha, not anymore. So right. I have clients that work with me on the B2B space. And they're like, well, I'll just do Facebook. I'm like, only like 2% of your entire friendly audience sees any of your stuff. Like Facebook decided that, they wanted to make some money too. And I think we all know that they're doing pretty well. Right. So, but that's what I think. I'm really excited to hear everything that Randy and Carol have to say about tonight, because it is always changing and it's so hard to keep up unless you're inundated with it all day, every day, which, you guys are inundated with toes and ankles and heels and forefoot. So yeah, stuff. You can't be a master at all of this. So we've got the experts here tonight.
Yeah. So with that, it's a couple minutes after we've got lots of people already logging on. So in the interest of time, we will go ahead and get started with our monthly marketing tips with Randy. And this month, we're talking about the magic and mystery of Facebook ads and Google ads. So one quick housekeeping thing, if you have questions, go ahead and type them into the chat or the Q&A, whatever makes you happy, you can use that. And then if you want to join us for Q&A live at the end and actually talk to Randy, go ahead and join us. All you have to do is raise your hand at the end and we'll open up your mic and your camera and we can have a heart-to-heart about all your favorite problems. Right. So,
or if being on the mic freaks you out, I know sometimes that makes people feel intimidated. We can field the questions for you as well if you just want to type them. So whatever you're most comfortable with, we just want to make sure you don't hesitate to ask a question, because if you don't ask, I'll just start making up questions.
Yes. All right, Randy, it is all you. Take it away.
Thank you guys. And thank you, Anne. Thank you, Sarah. And of course, Google and Facebook are great platforms, but guess what? So is podiatrymeetings.com, another great platform. I think it's actually great what you've created and keep evolving to help podiatrists. For me, even when we speak or exhibit at a conference, it's just a tremendous resource. The calendar itself and what's on your website, there's so much, there's really great material there. So I tip my hat to you guys on that. Really doing some great work. So thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
It was great seeing you guys at the SAM conference. I look forward to seeing you at the ACFAS conference next week, and we're back out there. So anyway, thank you all for joining us. I know it's the evening, so we're going to talk about the magic and the mystery of Google ads and Facebook ads. So let's get into it. So again, my name is Randy. I'm the National Director of Podiatry Content Connection. And for those that, let me just minimize something here. For those of you that don't know us, we're the #1 comprehensive digital agency, and we only work with podiatrists. We've been doing this for just under a decade, and we're basically advocates. We want to help private practices, attract more new patients from the web. And besides that, we give back to the podiatry industry every single month for the last 7.5 years now. So we give back to the podiatry colleges through scholarship funds. And I should mention that as of last week, we have not one but 2 colleges, podiatry colleges, that they've been watching us, what we've been doing for their alumni, meaning the folks at Kent State and Barry University, and watching and witnessing their alumni grow their practices through our services. And so they've kind of hopped on board. So we're doing the marketing for Barry University for their clinics in Miami. And as of last week, we're just getting started now with Kent State University and Dr. Boyk in Ohio. So we appreciate that. It's kind of an honor to serve podiatry, not just a private practice, but the clinics of the college. So that's great. So we're going to talk about what used to be called Google AdWords. I've actually changed the name to Google Ads, and that's the first part of what we'll speak about tonight. And some of you may or may not be familiar with Google Ads, but even if you're not familiar with them, it's most likely you probably have experienced or clicked on them before. So, just to summarize, what are Google Ads? I call them in-the-moment ads, and there's nothing better. Google Ads is Google's online advertising program, and through Google Ads, you can create online ads to reach patients exactly when they're interested in your services that you're offering and in the moment. So, for example, if somebody's typing in heel pain treatment in Edison, New Jersey, you are guaranteed to come up in that moment. So that's a great thing. It also enables you to go outside of your hometown, but we'll talk a little bit about that later. And then how do they work? So, you can jump to the top of page 1 of Google. That's where everyone will see you. You can actually have the ability to, it's kind of like throttle it. You can increase your spend to get more results and more often because it is rotated. You can win auctions for the best keywords. You can dominate your local search with a combination of, paid ads and also organic listings like blogs and articles and organic content that helps push you up organically. And, it goes without saying, if you want to, of course, be on page 1 of Google, but the cherry on top is like when you're on top of page 1 of Google, and Google Ads are really the vehicle that can get you there quicker. I should mention, by the way, that a lot of podiatrists have said to me over the years that, I don't get it. Like, we've been practicing for 20 years plus. We have a great practice. We're so good at what we do, but yet we see these younger podiatrists have been around for 3 years and they're blasting past us and they're dominating online. And why? Google Ads. That's one of the reasons, one of the main vehicles that can accelerate people, kind of like a shortcut. So just a quick, visual here. You're going to see on the right where, top of an ad listing is where you can see an ad for Jeep over here. It says ad. And then the top organic listing on the bottom where it says Jeeps versus, SUVs versus crossovers, et cetera. So there's a difference. Typically the ads are on the top and or on the side. So Google Ads versus organic SEO. So organic SEO, and again, SEO means search engine optimization, which, kind of translates to like showing up, being visible on page 1 of Google. So Google kind of dictates how far your SEO reach is and typically confines it to like your hometown. So if your hometown is Edison, New Jersey, your SEO is around that area. It's kind of, we call it geo-targeted. But Google Ads enable you to target outside of your area. So for example, if you are in Edison, New Jersey, you want to start pulling from Princeton, East Brunswick, and other areas, maybe surrounding towns that are not too far, but outside of that hometown, you have the ability to do it with great precision with Google Ads. And this is an amazing statistic. Why are Google Ads so effective? Well, the statistic is that, Google receives over 63,000 search requests per second. And unbelievably, that healthcare is actually number 3 on the list. I guess as baby boomers are getting older, so more and more people are searching for, doctors. And as we know, even during COVID, when people locked down, being couch potatoes, that didn't help their foot and ankle conditions. So, it's no surprise that a lot of podiatrists are very busy right now because people are coming out now where they've been afraid to come out for all this time. So they're searching more and more and more, and they're searching typically on Google. So, Google Ads, work because we employ what's called agile marketing, where we use some, data from SEO reports and marketing reports. We kind of see what's been working, identify and replicate efforts that are consistently produce high-end results. So, Google Ads is a little bit of rocket science here. We bumped into a number of podiatrists over the years that, I tried it, really didn't work that well. It's kind of like me saying, I tried fixing somebody's ankle once, didn't work that well. I've seen that movie before. It doesn't end well. And the point is that if you're a podiatrist, your value is treating patients, not attempting to do Google ads. One of the things about Google, and many of us know this, is that they change the game a lot. So they change their algorithms, and it takes a lot to keep up with it and to adapt and pivot to keep up with Google. So we have information, data, and kind of like, I don't want to say scientists, but my staff is trained and certified by Google, and they have to keep up, just like a doctor needs to keep up with their continuing education credits at conferences, et cetera. We have to keep up with ours to make sure that we, keep up with Google and what they're doing. And it's easier said than done. So for instance, we've pivoted our Google ads, because we tracked a shift in maybe keyword searches in a particular area. As trends and searches change, we tend to adapt or pivot and shift to accommodate those changes in the Google ads market. So, when we have our crafted ads are proven to, be able to reach patients that are literally looking for you in your town. And again, there's some tweaking sometimes. You got to find it, and then you tweak it and you get it right, and then you can scale. So we call it secret sauce. Google ads, a lot of people wondering, even those that have tried it on their own, I spend like $500 a month on Google ads. I'm not sure how it worked. It was decent. I think we saw something out of it, but it shouldn't be left to the imagination. So Google ad success is really no accident. Tracking really is imperative. It must be involved. So, you want to know your pay-per-click rate. You want to know your conversion rates, of course. And a podiatry kind of connection, we manage all that for you. It's a big part of what we do for our customers when we have review calls. We take like what I call a deeper dive. If it's a customer of ours, and not all of them are doing Google ads, many of them are, we spend more time going into that and those through dashboards and analytics and so forth. So basically customers have, clarity about where their dollars are going. And I always bring up those two words, spending or expense versus investment. I mean, if you're putting out, $500 a month towards Google ads and you're not sure where it's going, if you're seeing something come in, it might be considered an expense. If you're, I call it investing $500 a month into Google ads and you're seeing thousands come back in the way of new patients, that's a great investment. But again, you need tracking, all different types of tracking to really get a handle and clarity on this and be able to tweak things as you go along to make it better and better. So, Podiatry Kind of Connection is a certified Google partner. And as I said before, that means that our account managers are Google certified. So they have to pass a series of tests and keep up with it every year. And that's a good thing for us and for our customers. And, it helps them be on their game consistently. So, kind of what sets us apart is that we, have spent years and years building and have built for us proprietary bid software. We have tools to get the most clicks at the best rate. An individual really couldn't do what we do as a company and with the technology that we've employed to help us. This helps maximize your Google budget to go farther. And so between review calls and tracking and conversion rates and proprietary software, we are what we call the Google ad magicians. And our doctors love it when they see, and I can tell, by the way, when I see notes about review calls that our doctors are testing a certain amount to begin with, and then suddenly they're increasing it and increasing again and again throughout the year. And the reason is it's 3 letters, ROI. So, our customer base overall does pretty darn well, but the other folks that are, swimming at what I call the deeper end of the pool that are employing Google ads and other things, they're often seeing 8 to 10 times return on investment, which is really, really big. And, part of it is being able to track and see, how things are converting, how it's happening. So we do that again on our review call. So that's something really about, Google ads, and it is magical when it's done right. So now for our next act, we're going to, isn't that cool? You like that? We're going to talk about Facebook. And Facebook is a big mystery to a lot of podiatrists because they're just not familiar with it. So, there's something called Facebook for Business. So the first thing that comes to mind for a lot of people is that, we all know that Facebook is a huge, gigantic social media network, and it was my birthday just recently. I got just bombarded with birthday wishes, which feels really good, by the way, just a lot of people reaching out. But when it's birthdays or funerals or occasions or vacations or memes, Facebook has so many functions personally. But as a business, as a private practice, you really can have a business profile. You could post things like what we do for our customers is post a blog every single week to Facebook and Twitter. So it's going to their website, Facebook and Twitter. You can leverage that, and you could leverage Facebook in your favor to attract new patients through social media. So again, there's two different animals on Facebook. You can post or push content there, which is a great thing, but you could also advertise on Facebook. So what are Facebook ads? So Facebook ads run exclusively through Facebook's advertising network, which is quite large. And they don't not only appear on Facebook feeds, but they can also appear on Messenger through Facebook and even on non-Facebook apps and other websites. And this is an important statistic. It's kind of mind-boggling considering there's, I think, 7.3 billion people on the planet, and there's about 3 billion Facebook users, and over 68% of adults in the United States have active Facebook accounts. Now, my wife is a good example of that. Actually, we don't have it up here, but I was told that it's somewhere in the 70 to 75% of these active Facebook accounts are on it every single day for about 30 to 35 minutes every day, which is amazing. So think about that, because when you think about that, that's why prospective patients that are checking you out online, they're used to, besides looking at your website or maybe content relevant to their concern and your other things, but they're used to navigating Facebook, so they go on there. So Facebook is a very active platform, and 96% of social media marketers believe that of all the platforms out there, Facebook provides the best return on investment. It's kind of the granddaddy of them all. Now, we've heard a lot about TikTok and Instagram and others out there, but Facebook is still the big boy. And who's to know, maybe 2-3 years from now, that might be different. But right now, Facebook is a force for sure. So how do these ads work? It's really, I call it interruptive marketing, because Google, well, in my mind, there's nothing better than Google, because you're literally coming up when they are literally searching for you. Now, again, Facebook is a social network. So let's just say that I'm a runner and I subscribe to Running Magazine. I live in a particular area relative to a podiatry practice. Facebook has our number. They know a lot of information about us based on what we like and information that we read, etc., and things that we post. So you can get very targeted with Facebook. So, I could be seeing whose birthday it is on Facebook, but then suddenly an ad pops up for a podiatrist or a car or whatever. And it's interesting how these things pop up, but they're very targeted. So oftentimes they have call to action ads that are built in there. You could share them via email, Messenger, friends on Facebook. So they're easy to share if people see something interesting. And then, why are Facebook ads effective? I mean, and I would say the same thing about Google and Facebook. When done right by professionals, they could be very effective. So you get to adjust your target audience to be as broad or as narrow and well-defined as you like based on the following criteria. So location, of course, is a biggie. So you want to advertise in the cities or communities or countries where you want to do business. Then demographics, choose your audience based on age, gender, and education, job title, and more. So a lot of specifics you can do, and you can keep track of the types of people your ads are reaching, but Facebook will never share personally identifiable information with them. And I know they've gotten a lot of criticism about this. They've kind of tightened this up a bit. Then, of course, interest. So, if somebody's a runner or a tap dancer or into basketball, they're on their feet all the time. That's one area. If they put it this way, if they're an active runner and they're in a certain age group, they may be a good prospect. So you could add interest and hobbies of people who you want your ad to reach, from organic food to action movies, and make your targeted ads even more relevant to who you're speaking to. And then behavior. Target your ads based on consumer behavior, such as prior purchases or device usage or things that they read, etc. Connections, and choose to include people who are connected to you on Facebook, either via a page or an event, or exclude them to find new audiences. So, again, you can get analytics from Facebook and really tweak your criteria as you go along. And so whether it's Facebook or Google, there's, I call a little rocket science. There is, you got to be patient. I should mention my son, Adam, who works with me, but he has an exciting business on the side that he spends literally thousands of dollars per day on Facebook advertising. And he has tens of thousands of customers. Now, he's not a podiatrist, but my point is that he's become an expert on this, and he's 26 years old. And he didn't start out spending thousands of dollars a day, but he's worked up to it because it's working, because he's seen the ROI, but he's stuck with it. Some people just touch on it briefly and then they go away. It does require some focus. Certainly if you're doing yourself, that's for sure. But even when you work with professionals, they're campaigns, and they sometimes we need to shift, pivot, adjust. But once we get it right and then start scaling, it's a beautiful thing. So cost, you get to specify how much you want to spend with Google. And I should also mention that, the ad spend for Google is not quite what it would be for I'm sorry, the other way around. The ad spend for Facebook is not what it would be for Google. So you want to figure out you could base it on an overall amount, or you could do a daily budget. You could do a cost per result. So there's different ways to break it up. And some podiatrists, if they're doing advertising on Facebook, they may not want to advertise on the weekends, or they may want to. It's adjustable. So how to get the most out of Facebook ads. So, knowing the algorithms and the changes, easier said than done. Tracking is imperative. So tracking trends, what's working, what is not working, what needs changes, that type of thing. Choosing campaign goals is it about brand awareness? Is it about engagement, lead generation, new patients, obviously, post engagement, different types of things, and make adjustments to accommodate those goals. And we do a lot of this, whether it's Facebook and or Google, on the review calls we have with our customers. We kind of huddle with them and get very specific on where we're at, what we're looking at, how's it working, and should we just continue, lather, rinse, repeat, or make an adjustment. So then there's things like called boosting a post. Maybe some of you have seen this. So are Facebook ads and boosting a post the same thing? And the answer is no. So the difference is a boosted post is simply a current post on your brand's Facebook page that you would like to put money behind to reach an audience of your choosing, or maybe to reach more people. And I think in the beginning era, it was Ann or Sarah, I'm not sure, but had mentioned that, it's like a pay to play environment with these social networks. It used to be free, but now if you want more visibility, you got to pay your way there. So you can boost a post to do that. But the Facebook ad is more kind of a more thought out campaign, more strategic, created within Facebook Ads Manager, that allows you a wealth of different options to choose from that are really not available from just simply boosting a post. So different animals. And then the goals, an example of some would be like to increase patient engagement on Facebook. You could use a boost for that. If you want more new patients in the door and your website to be more visitors to your website, to convert those into phone calls, the Facebook ads could help you do that, as well as Google, of course. So, rattling off a bunch of different things about Google and Facebook and algorithms and, tracking and conversions and all that good stuff. So a lot of times, podiatrists say, what does this all mean? I went to school for podiatry, not for, Google and all this stuff. But, the things like Google ads and Facebook advertising can have really a direct impact and a big boost to your practice for those that want it. Not everybody has the appetite for it. Some are winding down. They say, as long as I have a clean website that looks up to date, be visible out there, and that's fine. Others are ramping up, or especially at the beginning of the year, they're saying, whether it's, a lot of people say they want to lose weight in the beginning of the year. Others say, as a business owner, I want more. I want to build out. I want to bring in another doctor. I want to add locations. We've got room for growth, or we want a specific type of patient. And again, there's no right or wrong here. Some podiatrists are more general in nature. They'll take anybody that walks in the door. Others are more specific in that there's a type of, I have one of my customers in Canada, Hartley Milchin. He is the bunion king. He only wants bunion patients. That's what he wants to treat. Others want to do sports medicine or whatever. There's, again, no right or wrong, but Google and Facebook give you amazing very effective tools to target market, whatever market you want to pursue and draw in. And I should also mention, if you're using, whether it's a Swift device or Shockwave or laser, and you want to monetize that equipment, there's really nothing better than Google Ads with landing pages, etc. So that's a very powerful combination. So it's a great tool for those that want to step up and invest more into marketing. So to sum up, Google Ads are really designed to get you on the top of page one right away, and to be more visible online. If you have great organic content, like from blogs and articles, things like that, it's kind of like the best of both worlds. And then Facebook ads, with about 3 billion users, it's a gigantic audience, and you could target through Facebook as well. So you want to, drive more potential patients to your website, and you want them to, of course, convert so your phone rings so they can schedule more appointments with you and your practice. So again, I'm rattling off a lot of stuff here, and I'm going to love that visual. So a lot of times people say this is information overload over a short period of time, but I encourage you to, don't try this stuff at home. Again, it's not a good thing, because there is some rocket science doing these things correctly. So, I would say successful business owners and private practice owners got to learn the words outsource and delegate. And if you're a foot and ankle specialist, that's your specialty, you should be treating patients. So learn to delegate this to, whether it's us or another company like us, but delegate these things to somebody that's professional that can do it. So have you ever tried to do Google ads or Facebook ads on your own and crash and burn? Because I know I've bumped into way too many podiatrists that admitted that they tried it, but it didn't work out too well. And I'm not surprised, because it's not as easy as you may think. There's others that have sat on the sidelines and watching other podiatrists in your hometown using Google ads and or Facebook ads to grow their practice. You're kind of watching them. You're a spectator. So that can be frustrating, but you're not sure how to, how do you get in there? What do you do? Who do you trust? Who can get this done for you? So you're kind of watching others. And again, it's frustrating. Others have been curious about it, but never really taken the plunge, because they're not quite sure what's involved. What does it cost? How does it work? How do I even know if it works? Or, can I define it? Can I see analytics? I want to be sure if I'm spending X number of dollars that we do it. So they've never taken the plunge, but they've thought about it. So, or maybe based on what I'm talking about here this evening, that might have piqued your interest and maybe open your mind to like, aha, this could be a new marketing channel above and beyond what you're already doing that could benefit your practice. So if that's the case, I encourage you, our company and myself, I've helped over 500 podiatrists, private practice, in my, 9+ years doing this, and kind of proud of that, and helped a lot of podiatrists do amazing things, not just through Google ads, but through other things. But it just feels good to help other business owners, do better when it comes to marketing. So if any of this did pique your interest and you're open to learning more about it, I encourage you to, take advantage of, we have what's called a web strategy session. We don't charge for this, but we put a lot of time and effort into kind of taking a close look, almost like a doctor will run a series of tests and maybe, get some x-rays to take a look at your foot and ankle. We do something similar, but it's not your foot and ankle, it's your overall web presence, and to see who is advertising in your area, who's utilizing maybe some of your competitors, who's doing advertising like Google ads, etc., and who's dominating in your area, and how you compete against them. It's, at the very least, it's a very worthwhile session to gain some clarity about where you stand versus other podiatrists in your area. So again, the good news is, you don't need to be an expert on this stuff, because we have absolutely cracked the code on this. And it didn't happen overnight, by the way. And we've gotten progressively better over the years and years. I mean, we've got about 41 people in our business, and only, about 4 of us are in sales. The lion's share of the people who work with us are in technology, service support, and they're the ones that are certified and really know this. But we have cracked the code between our software and our review calls and the platforms that we utilize and working with Google. We know how to make this stuff work, and it's a great thing. And again, it's not for everyone, but if it's something that's crossed your mind, I encourage you to, consider, taking advantage of one of those, what I call a web strategy session. So the way that we're helping our customers win with this, above and beyond all the other stuff that we do as far as websites and content that we're known for, but it's proprietary software that's really a game changer, that an individual person or even a small boutique agency really can't compete with what we bring to the table with software. I'm not going to share our secrets there, but it's powerful. Tracking that we do, the analytics, the clarity, the review calls is a very big deal with a senior level person that's Google certified that knows you and knows your practice is a big deal. And then to adjust and pivot. I talk a lot about that during COVID, helping practices adjust and pivot because things are much different now than they were 2.5 years ago. And the fact that we're a Google partner enables us to, continue to be updated with Google and keep up to date with the latest trends and algorithms and all that good stuff. So with that, again, if this piqued your curiosity, you want to learn more about this, tap into my knowledge and some of my team, schedule a web strategy session. And to do that, it's pretty easy. Just I'm going to give you, you can just text web strategy session to 917-572-5088. You can also email me, and my email address is randyrossler@podiatrycc.com. And so with that, I want to thank you guys for showing up in the evening and taking some time to be with us here. This is actually the first time, it's a brand new presentation, first time we've ever presented it. So I'm curious to get some feedback and any questions that you guys might have. And again, I appreciate your time.
Awesome. Thank you, Randy. Like I said to you guys, if you've got questions, type them into the chat or the Q&A, or you can just use the little raise hand icon and we can quote unquote call on you. But while we're waiting for some of your questions, I wrote down a couple of my own. But one thing I wanted to say was, Sarah and I are control freaks and we don't like to delegate. We're just now taking baby steps to delegate. But, I've done tons of research on Google ads and Facebook ads and SEO and all that kind of stuff. And it's so easy to just get paralyzed because of the amount of information that's coming at you and at the rate that things are changing. And, when you're a startup business like Sarah and I, you don't have the funds to put into hiring someone, an expert to do it. But physicians, for their practice, it's important and vital that they focus on taking care of their patients and improving, patient care strategies. So leave the marketing and the headache and the constant learning of that to the professionals. Like, hire someone who knows what they're doing.
That's right. Sure.
So, Sarah, one thing I was thinking about when Randy was talking is we get those emails all the time from Google with our January search performance, and at first I used to just always delete them thinking this is junk, whatever, but I've been reading them pretty often now, and it's always valuable information. It tells you, what keywords people use to find you and what links on your page are performing and all kinds of valuable information. And, that's just a little glimpse of some of the tools at your disposal. Like if you were more of an expert in Google, which Podiatry Content Connection is, and so they have the resources to sift through all that information.
Right. Randy, for somebody, for a practice who maybe has never, or maybe they've tried Google ads before and it was kind of like one bad apple spoiled the bunch, or even vice versa, I've done a media spend on Facebook before, but the original question I had in my brain was, if nobody has ever had experience doing this, I got like a double loaded question here. First, where do you think, if they say, okay, I can only spend money like right now, I want to put, I don't want to do it like halfway either way. So I want to do one really, really well. Would you recommend Facebook ads over Google ads? And then my other question that maybe could affect that answer is, does Facebook affect Google results?
Good question. I might not even know the answer to that one. I've never heard that before. Not that I know of, but I could double check on that one. But if I had to choose between the two, in my mind, there's nothing like Google. I mean, it's a verb besides being a verb, but it's amazing. I mean, right? You can Google anything. So think about it. Put yourself as a prospective patient. So if you look for heel pain treatment and you could pop up, as opposed to Facebook, as I call it, interruption marketing. So you didn't search it up on Facebook, although you could search something, but it's not a search network like Google. So I would say there's really nothing like Google, but Google is substantially more money. A budget for Google is, and depending on where you are, where your location is, it's going to cost you more money, generally speaking. So it's very powerful, Google. And like I mentioned before, when you do some testing and when you get it right, and then you scale it, it can really change a practice. And you can throttle it. Some podiatrists, they're using it, and then they want to go to Florida for the winter. They want to, or take a month off. Well, you could stop it or pause it or slow it down, so you can kind of throttle it. And then there's other times when you're slow for whatever reason, you want to ramp things up. It's kind of like it's like a turbocharger when done right.
Sure. Well, and I think that's a really important point, especially because this is healthcare marketing. Healthcare is reactive. It's not like I'm going to search for treatment for a bunion if I don't have a bunion. So,
right.
So I think one of the most important things about Google Ads is you are getting people that are qualified leads. These are people that are actively searching for the services that you provide because they have an issue. On the same token, or I guess on the opposite side of that, with Facebook, because it is interruptive marketing, or just what's the word you cited?
It's like interruption marketing.
Yes. You could say, like, let's say you have a cash service or something that maybe, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a cash service, but maybe something that's like, it's a hindrance. It could be annoying. Like, I may have heel pain, but it's not completely debilitating my life, but that could be something. Then it's like, okay, well, then the laser ad comes up on Facebook. It's like, you know what? This heel pain has really been driving me bonkers. And so it's so, it depends on
the combination
strategy, right? Yeah. And the combination's always the best.
You think about it, if you rewind the tape, I mean, like decades ago, before Google came, along, like in the old days, what was advertising? You kind of like, you put something out there and hope somebody saw it. I mean, Google is amazing when you think about what it really is, that it's like an advertiser's dream that you could actually tap in to get onto the radar of somebody that's literally searching for, chiropractor in this town, podiatrist over here, and boom, you pop up. I mean, what more could you really ask for?
Absolutely. Well, and that also kind of goes back to how one can affect the other, because if I do a Google search for something and then somebody and I know we didn't talk about this today, but retargeting marketing and all of those things, then it's like, okay, now the computer, the black hole of space and time knows what I'm interested in. And then you start seeing these pop-up ads that you had no idea were going to start affecting your screen.
Right. Well, actually, that's great subject matter maybe for part 2 of this.
Because that gets really complex.
Like you visit Land's End website, and suddenly Land's End ads are popping up in your Facebook feed or Google or whatever.
It's like, I was just talking about slippers to my grandma in the kitchen, and somehow, it's kind of spooky, right? It's like, how does it know?
There's the world that we live in, whether you like it or not. It's got pros and cons. And then there's other things. I mean, Google could get you to the top of page 1. We've seen a lot of people, this is another thing we could have touched on, but we're all spoiled these days, and looks do count and first impressions do count online. So you could have great visibility on page 1 of Google, and they click on that ad and that pay per click, and now points to a website that's old, outdated, hasn't been touched in years, and kind of like, as I usually put it, you lost them at hello, like, woo, I don't like the way that looks, and click. So you just paid per click for them to visit you, and now within 3 seconds they just clicked away and went to another podiatrist, unless you're the only one in town. But visibility is one thing, and then after that, how you look as far as your website, the content, and then of course on other programs with you guys, we're talking about the importance of reputation management and reviews. So you could be great, look great on visible, could be very visible on Google, but if there's a bunch of bad reviews about the doctor and or the practice, you have an issue.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's one thing that I don't know if people get confused, but I know I have worked with clients in the past where even if it's any sort of digital ad, it's like, let's put million words on it because I want to close them with that single ad. It's just like, the ad has to be good enough to make them click.
Right.
And when they click, then and it's like step one, make them just be good enough to make them hit that button. And then when they get to wherever they land to, then you got to be good enough to make them pick up the phone or fill out the form or what, whatever's next. It's hard to convince or maybe sometimes communicate and educate how to do that 1, 2, 3 step process. You're not always going to convert with 4 letters in a headline.
Right. Yeah. And I see it all the time in podiatry where, for whatever reason, even if you take away Google Ads with a podiatrist, it has just good visibility on page 1 of Google organically for whatever reason. And then you click on it, and it goes, this really atrocious website. And so, you had me, I was there, but then I went away because, so the first impressions make a difference. So, on another version, as we could talk more about retargeting and then conversions. I mean, that's the bottom line is that, Google Ads can get you visibility and then click through. But what happens when they click through? Does your phone ring or not? If it doesn't ring, then it's all for nothing,
Right. So Randy is hosting these webinars with us pretty much every month to talk about marketing, different, tips and strategies based on pain points that podiatrists are experiencing in their practice. So if anybody has any ideas for future sessions, we would love to hear them. You can type them into the chat, or you can always email us anytime at beheard@podiatrymeetings.com. And we'll pass along that information because we're always looking to bring relevant content that you guys find useful and that solves problems that you're experiencing in your practice.
Yeah. I'd be curious to know of the folks that are still on here, how many of them are actually utilizing Google Ads? And if they are, how's it going? Have they had success with it? Have they increased it or stopped it? That type of thing. And if they got any value out of what we spoke about tonight, because this is the first time we ever presented it.
To say, if anyone wants to raise their hand, use the tool to raise your hand and you can unmute yourself. Dr. Barkoff, I see you're on there. I know you do a lot of marketing. Maybe you want to chime in.
Uh-oh, now we're calling people out.
I know, that's what you get is, I know. Yeah, it worked.
Yes, it did.
Yes. Do you want to unmute him, Ann?
I did.
Okay. You might have to unmute yourself as well, Dr. Barkoff, because it's probably a 1-2 unmute.
Yep, correct. How are you?
I'm good. How are
How's
you?
it going?
It's going okay.
Good. Tell us your experience with digital ads, whether it be Google or Facebook.
So I think I have a very good presence on the web. We have great success with ZocDoc, and we also use Weave, which is a voice over IP.
Mm-hmm.
So we ask people to review us. So as you were speaking, I kind of typed in my name in both my offices. The problem I have is right now with staffing, like sometimes tracking, like you mentioned, have outsourced. I have another company and I'm pretty happy with them, but how do I put myself on here? So you can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yep.
Okay. I guess my problem I'm having is, it's like a faucet that gets turned on. So today we were so busy, the phones were ringing so much
Right.
that I don't have enough staff sometimes.
Right.
And I have to pay staff so much in New York that it's almost like I need to outsource my phones, but then they're not going to have that home feel. It's almost like a double-edged sword.
Right. Are you in New York City, by the way?
I have one office in New York City and one office in Long Island.
Okay. I grew up in Long Island. I live in New York City. So.
And Dr. Barkoff does really well. He does great things. Like I've seen him do, he gets testimonials from his patients. He puts them on Instagram. He's
Great.
doing a lot of the right things. So he's very, I would say you're, progressive in the sense that you do the work and you're hands-on with it.
The problem I've had with the company we're using is my partner's better than I am, but I think we don't even know how to post our stuff to Facebook. Like, I'm good at creating content, but this company we're using, and they're nice, but I need to know if you guys would like at least make sure if I post something, it goes to the correct Facebook, Instagram, because I create the content, but then it doesn't go to where I want. So I'm sort of frustrated, even though I feel like I'm doing well.
Right.
I feel like I'm missing the mark with certain.
Yeah. Yep. Well, if you ever, if you ever want to take a look at it, I'm happy to speak with you. But it sounds like you are doing a lot of the right things. And I'm curious, are your office in the city, are you in a business district like Midtown or downtown?
No, we're on 90th and Broadway on the Upper
90th
West.
and Broadway.
Yes.
I live on 101st and Broadway.
Come by.
Yeah,
We'll have
it's New West Podiatry, Randy.
Okay, that's so funny.
And Randy, I'm willing to switch. I don't have to go over who we use, but
yeah,
like they want us to.
I have to pay you a visit. It's good to get out of the house, take a walk.
I'm there Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays.
Okay.
Look
But
me
yeah,
up.
I mean, and that's the thing is it's tricky because you're doing the due diligence of getting the content. And it's actually, I think for a lot of practices, the opposite. They, don't take the time to either, get videos of their patients and testimonials or have the time to write blogs and things like that. And you're able to do that. But yeah, if it's kind of like printing a brochure and then putting it on your counter and watching it collect dust. It's like,
Correct.
I didn't do this for myself, or if it's not getting where it needs to go to the eyeballs.
And my kids,
that's a problem.
my kids they're in college and high school. They claim they could do it, but they won't. And my partner's very good, but he's seeing 40 patients. So I sent him a couple of things, and then it just sits. So I'm just frustrated. And the company I'm using, I think they're good. Our website is good, but those are the things that I could really use help with.
Yeah.
I love creating, but I wanted to get to where I like organically. I don't want to pay for clicks. I would do it, but I'd rather let it happen organically.
Yeah. Well, that's I mean, that's a big part of what we do. Podiatry Content Connection. It's all about organic content. Although this particular, was really about something different. But yeah, you know what? I'll take a walk, or I'll call you one day. Get me out of the house. You're only 10 blocks from me, so I'll drop by, see your office, say hello.
Coffee's on me.
All right, appreciate that. I take it black. So, well, thank you for jumping on, and let's see.
I kind of feel like a radio show host. Like, hey, you're on with Ann and Sarah and Randy and Carol.
But I do think that is one of the most confusing things is, the content and, do I pay for Google Ads or do I just count on doing, if you're not doing that, you do have to spend a lot of time creating dynamic content and putting in tons of articles. And, how many times can you put heel paint all over your website without, breaking, without, I remember a long time ago, people would program websites and type keywords in on the front end of the website, but then just put it in whites so it wouldn't look like, and then Google's like, you can't do that. So it's like all these weird hacks of how you can try to get better SEO results. And unfortunately, you have to be legit. It has to be true content. But if you don't pay for placement on that first page, you've got a lot of work to do in writing. A lot.
Yeah.
Or you can hire Randy to do it.
Well, we're the content factory. I mean, that's what we do. Podiatry content. That's our business. But no, it's good. But it sounds like you're doing a lot of the right things. That's great. So, and ZocDoc, a lot of docs like ZocDoc and Weave has some great communication tools. So I think you're working with some good companies as well. So that's good. That's great. So,
and is it still true, Randy? This is something that I am just curious about. When you are in directories and things like that, when you do make sure that doesn't Google, like the back end, kind of see that and say, okay, because this company and this name is listed in all these places, they must be relevant, they must be important. So to serve that purpose to the public, they put the most relevant, what they think is probably the most relevant at the top. And so those directories are important.
They do. What's weird about it is that if you looked at the list of the directories, you're like, you wouldn't even recognize half the names, but they are relevant because they're what I call a spoke in the wheel of SEO or search engine optimization, which has everything to do with you being listed properly, listed more often. Google it kind of gives Google the green light to tee you up more often because you are listed properly in the major directories. So directory optimization is important, and we've been doing that recently for some of our larger practices, not just for the practice but also for the individual doctors. So, for example, we'll claim and reconcile and update 70 local directories for a podiatry practice, but we'll also do the same exact thing for the individual doctor. So it's like, so if there were 3 doctors there, it's like 210, directory listings. It's a lot. So you're getting a big bang for the buck. It comes out to be under $1 a listing or something like that. So, but so you're paying a little bit more per month, but you're listed everywhere. So it's important.
There are so many. Sorry, Sarah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I have one more to do that because this is always just so interesting to me. So this will be and then I'll be like, this isn't like my webinar, but I'm excited. So I think the other thing that is kind of, I don't know if it would say me, but when people say, I want to get organic results, I'm not going to spend money on SEM or the search engine marketing portion of it. The thing is the more website clicks you get, it goes back to that concept of the more website clicks you get, Google says this must be a relevant site. This must be a site that people need. So if you're spending money on search engine marketing, you actually are helping your organic results as well, because Google says this is getting a lot of clicks. It must be important. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And am I accurate, or am I just talking?
No, I mean, good point. I mean, no, I think it's good. For another example is that what we do for our customers, we have a team that writes blogs every week. Those blogs go to 3 places: the website, Facebook, and Twitter. So the fact that we're posting relevant podiatric educational content on the podiatrist Facebook page every week makes that more relevant, and that points back to the website. It does exactly what you're talking about. It makes it more relevant, and the fact that a social network like Facebook or Twitter is pointing back to a podiatrist website helps its cause, and it all comes together. It's a combination for us.
Well, I know you're there. Go.
So it's a combination. Yeah. So.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
It's okay. I said the same thing to my dog earlier. I
thought I hit both buttons. I'm so sorry. That's so funny. So
I just probably made your night. Sorry.
Yeah. So I was gonna say,
I'm sorry. I'll go. Geez.
It's so easy to be taken advantage of when you're trying to navigate this whole system of, how do I make sure that I'm on Google? How do I make sure I'm on Facebook? How do I get to the top of all these, directory places? And it can be overwhelming. And there's lots of companies who say, you have to hire us for us to do this for you. We all get those phone calls. You need to verify your Google business listing. We all get these phone calls, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, you have a company right here in your own industry who are people that you can actually pick up the phone and call that person directly, or text them, call their cell phone, and work through a problem, not some 800 number that you have to sit on hold with to get a problem taken care of. You have people that you can reach out to directly to help solve your issues. So I think that's just a huge selling point for what you guys offer.
I appreciate that. We are pretty awesome. Or no, no.
Well,
It's interesting. We're actually the opposite of a lot of other companies, and there are really some good agencies out there and people that do social media. They're social media experts, and not to poo-poo them, because they're very qualified, but they're not cheap. So a lot of podiatrists, and some of them spend a lot of money, maybe too much money, because they're fragmented. In other words, they hire a boutique agency to do website design for them and hosting their website. They hire another agency to do social media marketing, to post stuff on their website. Somebody else does directories or advertising, etc. And when you kind of pieces of the puzzle, it's like when you put it all together, well, first of all, who's accountable for what? And when you add it all up, it's like, wow, you're spending 400 over here and 300 over there and 700 over there at the end of the day, or at the end of the month for that matter. It's a lot, it's hey, hello. And so you have a lot that's going on there. So
Carol's kid just went over to Anne's house.
Right. So we're kind of like a one-stop shop. It's integrated. But one thing I should say, it's interesting that we're different in that we actually, unfortunately for me, but I passed on 2 podiatrists just recently. We're at the SAM conference. Somebody was referred to us because we won't take on too many podiatrists in any one given area. We have parameters for that because we don't want our customers to be competing against each other, because most of our customers dominate in their area. Most of our customers, by the way, are making more money than the average podiatrist and are more visible online, but we can't have 10 customers in a particular area. And it depends on the population, of course. For example, New York City is a different animal than Kansas City, but ours is really an integrated platform. And you're right, Ann, because, I'm one of the owners of the company. Somebody called me on my cell if they have a question or a concern about anything that could reach me. Communication is a big deal to deal with people that understand your practice and can answer questions about it. That's good. And that's how we've grown. So, I like helping all these practices. So it's good. We're having a great time. We're making our mark. And I like jumping on these webinars because it gives people a platform to maybe ask some questions and maybe learn about something that they thought about doing, but they never did do it. Maybe hear how other doctors are utilizing these types of, marketing and maybe give them a new thought or something new to try.
Yeah.
They say that definition of insanity, right? Doing the same things over and over again and getting different results. So I think it's good to.
I like to hear that you, not that you had to turn down a client, but that you do limit yourself in a geographic area, because you're right. If you're putting 110% into everybody, then something is going to suffer. Somebody's not going to get what they need. And it's like, it says a lot for your business model that you're willing to turn down revenue to make sure that your existing customers get the attention and service that they deserve. And it's sort of similar to what Sarah and I do with our sponsorships. We limit it so that everybody gets the right amount of visibility and the right amount of attention from us, where we could easily just say, yes, our number one goal is to get rich. And so we will just, partner with anybody, but we're very selective. And I think that, that's great that you guys are too. Dr. Barkoff did put in the chat, make sure to get in touch with him. So Randy, just when we're offline, if you don't have his email address, reach out to us and we'll get that for you.
Sounds good. All right, guys.
Okay. Anything else?
Closing note, just so everything, again, thanks everyone for coming on. If you don't know, we do put these webinars, we record them, we put them on our website later, so you can check our archives. If there's some kind of like, I need to go back and see that, or if you want to share it with a colleague, that's always recommended as well. And then a week from today, just so you are aware, I'm getting ready to literally go boop and update our webpage. So go to our webpage in about 10 minutes. We are going to have Dr. Ritchie on next week for how to treat adult acquired flat foot with the Ritchie brace, pearls to assure a successful outcome. So I think that'll be very exciting. And plus, I just want to see you all again. So again, go to the webpage that if you went to the webpage to sign up for this webinar. If you didn't, we're going to harass you in your email anyway.
Yes. And if you have any topics that Randy should cover for you for marketing, please email us and let us know. Be heard at podiatrymeetings.com, because like I said, we're always wanting to put out content that benefits you guys. So just let us know what you're struggling with and what any of our sponsors, but specifically Randy and Podiatry Content Connection, what they can help with. So
very good. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.